have such sights to show you.
So, Fly is one of those horror movies that everyone has seen except for me, like until a week ago. I'm severely late to the party on The Fly. Yes, I know, I deeply apologize. But I've corrected my mistake and I'm happy to report it's really good. And here to help me talk about that is the editor in chief of FromTheFourthRow.com, a site that I write for. So technically, this guy is my boss. I don't know if I could call him that. I'm going to call him my boss. It's Dan Chip Allen. Dan, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fine. I don't know if I would call you. You're not. I'm not your boss. We're collaborators. You're a contributor to the website, and I just happen to own, edit, and am the head film critic of the website. You're a contributor. We work together to make a better product, and by what you do, you contribute to that product. So I don't know if I'm your boss, but if you want to call me your boss, not a lot of people have done that in the past.
Well, regardless of that, thank you so much for joining and talking about The Fly. And this is one of those that like I said, didn't see it before until like a week ago. Really enjoyed it, but the story, like you all know it. Jeff Goldblum plays Seth Brundle, a scientist who is trying to master the art of teleportation. He has these two big chambers, and he's trying to transport one thing to the other. And he tries it on himself, and it's successful. There's just one problem. A fly gets into the machine, and he begins to turn into a fly himself, which leads to some very gross results. So this was directed by David Cronenberg, the master of body horror himself, and this is like the thing that he is known for. And this is like the thing that Jeff Goldblum is known for. This and Independence Day. Those are like the two things. And Jurassic Park, so make it three. But Dan, when did you first see this? I imagine in theaters, right?
No, I didn't see it in theaters. I would have been about 12 years old when this came out in theaters. What was it? 19, was it 80, 86 or 87 in there, or was it later than that? When did this come out again?
No,
Because
it
I
was
remember 89,
86.
86. Okay, so I would have been 12 years old. This is kind of movie that I don't think I was watching as a 12-year-old. And so I did see this later on as a teenager, early adult, 18, 19, 20, in there somewhere, later in the 80s. Because I think my parents weren't allowing me to see these kinds of movies as a kid. But I did see this at a very young age, though. I mean, compared to most people probably didn't see this at that young of an age because it's such a gruesome kind of movie. But you know what's funny? I wanted to tell you, the old saying, there's a fly in the ointment. Well, that's this movie will tell you all about how the fly gets in the ointment. Yeah, but I saw this at a very, very young age. So I was very disturbed at a very young age by watching this movie.
And this has gone on to pretty legendary status. I mean, it's like the thing that Goldblum's known for, Cronenberg's known for, and Cronenberg had a very successful 1980s. I've already covered this month. I already covered Scanners earlier this month, and he would do Videodrome after that, and then he would do Fly immediately after that. So he was a busy guy in the 80s. But this is like his most famous work, and I think my biggest compliment that I can give is that once the Fly stuff happens, it happens about halfway through. That's when things get really gruesome, and you just see the decay of Seth Brundle just over time. It's so gross looking. It starts small. He starts like having a lot of sugar in his coffee, and like he's noticing these physical changes, hairs on his body that he can't explain. But then things go south really bad. He can't walk anymore. He's like, his hands stop working. It gets really bad. And it's done in such a way to where you're just sitting there like, this poor guy, like someone needs to help him, but no one really can. And it's just sad.
Yeah, I started noticing the acne on his face and stuff like that. So you start seeing the gradual transformations of the character, and he's trying to do something that's a scientific kind of thing. Oh, teleportation, this, and a damn fly gets in there and screws it all up and ends up splicing his genes, and so he ends up turning into a human version of the fly. And what's funny is I just did a buddy of mine's podcast yesterday, and we talked about the substance, and I talked about the fly, how the substance really got a lot of inspiration from the fly, because the fly came out like 30 years ago. The substance came out last year. That's what I thought of when I was watching the substance last year. All I could think about was, oh my God, this is like you need to watch these two movies side by side if you want to get some of the most incredible prosthetic and makeup work. I mean, do you remember if the makeup was it the Elephant Man, that the makeup and hair category was that created after the Elephant Man? Or I believe it was. I think people were really upset that the Elephant Man couldn't win some kind of award for an Oscar because of that was like the most incredible makeup at the time. And then you get The Fly about 6 or 7 years later, and it's like, wow, these people really, they know how to turn different creatures. You had The Howling, which was really good. I mean, but this is some amazing makeup on Jeff Goldblum, I thought. And
so to answer your question, with the exception of 2 honorary Oscars, which were given to William J. Tuttle for Seven Faces of Dr. Lao in 1964 and for John Chambers for Planet of the Apes 1968, the official, what we know of as best hair and makeup, was started in 1981. And the inaugural winner was Rick Baker for An American Werewolf in London, which well-deserved across that. But
so the year after
was when it started.
So it was the year after the Elephant Man. So people were so upset about the Elephant Man not getting an Oscar, they created the category. And then Rick Baker wins the next year for An American Werewolf in London, which is a very, very deserving winner of course, that year. Yeah. So that's interesting. That's pretty cool. Because I mean, this art form has really progressed over the years, obviously with what happened last year with the substance,
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of eerie, I'm not going to say the substance like copied anything, but I'll say there are a lot of very similar things going on between those two. And I'm not going to dog on the substance. I like the substance quite a bit. I'm glad it got nominated for Best Picture. Should have won, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But there's a lot of similarities between the two, whether directly or indirectly. And to your point, the makeup in this is just phenomenal. Especially at the end where you see the fly's final form, that thing is terrifying. The big eyes, the red body, it looks like burnt to a crisp. You're just sitting there I can't imagine someone building this and be this is going to get these people real good. You want to know how confident they were in the makeup in this? The first credit you see at the end credits is fly creature effects done by. So not even a director or a writer. No, it was creature effects done by. I don't think I've ever seen that in a movie before or since.
That's great. That's great. That's great that they show the proper respect for the people that did that, because this is a remake, but if you saw the original Fly, it doesn't even hold a candle. And I know The Thing and The Fly and some of these movies that have the Scarface and stuff like that, I know they're remakes, but there's more technology, there's more stuff going on in the 80s with behind the scenes of making film. So of course they're going to be better than the original, you know what I mean? But this is just one of the most gruesome creatures I think I've ever seen. I've seen all kinds of monsters and you name it in movies. We've seen it all. If you've seen as many movies as I've been watching movies for close to 50 years, and I've watched thousands and thousands of monster movies and whatever. This is probably still today one of the scariest creatures I have ever seen. And Jeff Goldblum, yeah, we all know him for being the snarky comedic type guy and all this kind of stuff. But this is really, he really put himself out there in this role, and I think he made a name for himself in a way by doing what he did, by taking on this ordeal of all the makeup and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, he had been acting for a little bit before this. He had, like, I believe he started out in the early 80s. He was in this movie I have not seen, but I've always wanted to see, called Transylvania 6 5000, which was released in 19, like, it was the year prior to this. And then, like, in the early 80s, he was in some smaller roles. And he would go on to do like a few more roles, and then Jurassic Park hits in 93, and then like that's the thing that launches him. And then he's got Independence Day, and he's still going. Like, he's in Wicked for Good, like coming out in like a month's time as of the recording of this. So he's still going full speed. And here he's actually rather arrogant at a couple of times, and I've never seen that side of him before, because like, he's so confident in his abilities, and then when that whole thing happens, it's like all the facade just comes crumbling down. It's the humbling, like that's how I describe it.
Yeah, you know, his personality as an actor, we've seen him in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and like you said, Wicked and Wicked for Good coming out this year. He has this confidence. He exudes a confidence in almost all of his characters that he plays. His character in Jurassic Park, his character in Independence Day. He just has this quick wit, quick dialogue, and he exudes his confidence in the way he thinks. And he was that way at first. That was how he was able to pick up Gina Davis earlier in the movie, and that started going downhill for him.
Yeah. And Gina Davis is good here as well. That's another actress who's still going to this day. She was just in a movie, like, I believe earlier this year or late last year, called Blink Twice, which was Channing Tatum's directorial debut. Or no, wait, Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut. I getting my directors crossed tonight.
Channing Tatum
but
was in
she
it.
was in that. He was the star. But Gina Davis was good in The Fly. Really thankless role in a bit of places, and like thankless in terms of like, how do you help this guy? Like, I just felt so sorry for her like quite a few times.
Yeah, what were you supposed to do? This guy, I mean, first of all, she doesn't believe him at first that he's turned into a creature. First of all, she doesn't believe him that he can transform. And then she's like, I want to be there. If you go from one thing to the other, I want to be there. I don't want you to do it on your own, and this and that and the other. Of course, he makes a mistake of transporting himself on his own, and the Fly gets in there, and one thing leads to another. And then she's like, why did you do that? I told you, don't do that. And, she felt really sorry for what was going on with him. But even she was like at the point where I can't do anything to help you. You got to leave me alone. You got to stop bothering me and all this stuff. And, I feel really bad for her in a way, because she wanted to help him, but she didn't know how to help him,
Yeah, she wants to, but he pushes her away because it's like, what can you do? And yeah, this is just, in a lot of ways, a pretty painful movie to watch, because like, the horror is not like someone jumping out and going boo. Like, it's not like that kind of horror. The horror is seeing the guy just lose all of his faculties just slowly, and there's nothing that he can do. Just like going from like this full on like able-bodied guy to just this grotesque creature looking thing. That there's another like substance kind of comparison, seeing how she starts to how she ends is genuinely disturbing stuff. And then like here, it's like it's genuinely disturbing as well. I think the moment that got me the most was when he's like covered in like this, like, I don't know, scales, I don't know what to call it, but he's not full Fly yet, but he's getting close. And he spits out the goo out of his mouth, the green goo. I'm like, that's the most famous thing from what I've always seen. But then the next scene, he turns and his ear falls off.
It falls off. It falls the fuck off.
I had to like pause and take a minute. I'm like, okay, that's a bit much. That's a bit much for me. But that was the scene that got me the most.
Yeah, he's explaining how to eat in his new form, and he's like, a fly doesn't chew anything or anything like that. It exudes a mucus and spits the mucus on and then the mucus softens up what you eat, and then he absorbs the mucus back in. That was like, all right, this is gross. This is what's the gross thing. You think the creature itself is gross, but when it does that, it goes to that next level. You're like, okay, it has fully grossed me out in this movie. And rewatching it, it reminded me of that scene. And like you said, the ear falling off, and it's like, oh my God, they are really David Cronenberg. Okay, look, David Cronenberg. What was the movie that came out a couple of years ago where people had like body parts, ears, and stuff on their body? I forget that it was Kristen. Say that again.
Crimes of the Future. That's
Crimes of the Future. It had Kristen Stewart in it, and then what's her name? His next movie, The Shrouds. He's cutting a person to pieces, one piece at a time. This person in The Shrouds, and Diane Kruger. He just knows how to just mess with people and just gross people out in the most craziest ways possible, and Reanimator and Videodrome. These movies are all just like, he has a way with sci-fi and like horror, and he puts them together in a way that you just like are baffled by, like, who comes up with this stuff,
apparently he does, and that's what makes him an all-timer. And I think at the end of the day, this is just one of those movies that in certain ways has gotten better with time, and strangely kind of poignant and somewhat relevant in time. And one more thing I did want to note, Dan, you brought it up, but there was an original The Fly. I actually did review it many years ago with Vincent Price. I did enjoy it, but this one is like it's like way up here. It takes the concept and takes it to 11. And then there was a sequel, The Fly 2, which I have seen. I did like, but again, it's like this one just like took the
Eric
concept.
Stoltz. Right,
Yeah.
It's got Eric Stoltz. It's not as good as this one. It's not as good as this one.
It was written by Frank Darabont. I don't know
really?
if you knew that.
No, I did not know that. I've seen it. I went to buy The Fly on DVD and ended up buying The Fly 2 on DVD. So then I had to go back and buy The Fly again on DVD when DVDs are popular. Now it's obviously 4K is the main physical media that we use. Some people still buy Blu-rays and stuff, but so I accidentally bought The Fly 2 with Eric Stoltz and watched that. Then I had to go back and buy The Fly because I wanted it on physical media. But you got to give credit to these visionary filmmakers who remake something like, say, The Fly, The Thing, Scarface, or whatever. And most recently, Spike Lee, Highest to Lowest. They have to have a great vision in mind to take a classic movie like The Fly or The Thing from Another World, or Scarface 1932, or High and Low, or whatever, as an example, and remake it, because those are classic movies. Yeah, I would say, okay, The Fly probably isn't a classic, but it's still an old movie that we don't. Why are we remaking things? Because there's a vision behind it. And I give a lot of filmmakers credit who do have a vision for remaking something that is a classic like that, and then taking it to another level and making it better. And so that's what David Cronenberg did with The Fly. John Carpenter did with The Thing. Brian De Palma did with Scarface. Spike Lee did with Highest to Lowest. In my opinion, other people might have a different opinion. I don't know, but that's what I want to see. When I see a remake, Cameron, I want to see somebody that takes it in a direction and has a vision behind what they're going for.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's a good place to put the period at the end of the sentence. I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of The Fly if you have seen it? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to read what you have to say. Dan, thank you so much for your time and for joining me. Like you said at the top, you're the head editor of FromTheFourthRow.com. I write over there. I'm doing a series on Paul Thomas Anderson right now, and I'm having a great time doing it. I'll post the link down below. So definitely go check them out. Dan, I don't know how you have the time of day to review all of those movies by yourself, but
I got 4 writers,
I
including myself. I have 5 writers. So you're one of the 5, and I have 3 other people that write for me. And I pass off some of the movies to you guys. I have writers that sometimes they'll go to film festivals and they'll cover movies at film festivals. I have one writer right now at Middleburg, and then he's going to SCAD, and he's going to pick me up in Daytona Beach, and we're going to drive to Miami. We're going to go to Miami Gems. So, it's a passion, Cameron. Jacob. I said Cameron. Why did I say Cameron? I said Jacob, because that's your last name.
That is my last name, so it's okay.
So I meant to say Jacob. It's just a passion. It shows, your love of movies shows in these videos and the things that you do on YouTube and so forth. And my love of movies shows in the way that I have a website and I write about the movies that I see and whatnot. I mean, I feel like you just have to love something as much as you and I do to do what we do and do what I do. And so that's basically what it amounts to.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So definitely check out FromTheFourthRow.com. Like I said, link below. I'll link some of my articles down there as well, because I pat myself on the back. I think I've been doing a pretty good job lately. So definitely check those out. And ScaryMania VI continues onward.